Okay, let's see. Sound check. Hello, 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 hello. Okay, I guess we have some audience. If you can hear me, please do mention in the chat box. And if there is any issue, please mention that as well. Okay, let's start. So, uh, let's see what do I wanted to share. Share. I'm sorry, there seems to be an issue. Okay, I'm doing this for the first time, guys, so please bear with me. I'm just trying to get my act together. I don't know, not at all. Yeah, I'm just a fan like everybody else. I got this a long time back. Okay, so thank you for coming to this live stream. Like I said, I'm doing this for the first time. So if there are any screw ups, please bear with me. So what do we do? So today, what I will do is I will take you through the history, geography, and the strategic importance of the Shaksgam Valley. Now, when I say history and geography, both we need to understand the history part in detail because that has a great implication in terms of when you come to decide who basically owns or is the rightful owner of this part of the this area. And geography is because that is ultimately every military operation and the strategic importance derives from the geography of the land. So three things, three key mountain features that you need to understand when it comes to the Saksham Valley is the Karakoram Range, Agil Mountains, and the Kunlun Range. So let me just take you to this one. So let me first explain the lines here. The yellow line that you see, this is the India's international boundary. The red line that you see over here, this is the line of actual control. Uh, Actually, let me rephrase that. This is actually the claim line of the Chinese in the eastern Ladakh region. This blue line that you see, this is the approximate alignment of the AGPL, which runs along the Saltoro Ridge and uh, basically divides India and China when it comes to the Siachen sector. And this red line over here is the broader alignment of the line of control uh, in Kashmir. Now, here is the Siachen Glacier, and this part is the northernmost part of India, which is under our control. Coming to the three mountain ranges, this massive uh, landform covered by snow that you see, this is the Karakoram range. Uh, it this is where this is the Shayok village. This is the place where Shayok River takes the famous U-turn, and this is the Shayok village. So it extends till this place and goes right into the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So this is the Karakoram range. Next to the Karakoram range is your Aghil range. This range that you see, which the mouse is covering, is the Aghil range. And north of this is you have this one. This is the Kunlun range. Okay. Now, before we proceed further, what we need to understand is that historically, the land between the Kunlun range and the Karakoram range was basically nobody's land. This was, this was not owned or controlled by anybody. What you had was you had, the trade caravans which used to go from Leh and pass the Karakoram Pass, and then move along the this area, and again cross the Kunlun range into these Chinese cities, the Khotan and Kashgar. But beyond the Karakoram range and between the Kunlun range, this was basically a no man's land. I mean, nobody owned this land simply because there was no vegetation, no habitation, nothing worth anything, no villages, no nothing. This area was predominantly uh, inhabited by Kyrgyz nomads. So there were no towns, nothing over here. Now, coming next is, let's go back in to history, because what so at present what you see here is that this yellow line is the alignment of India's international boundary. This is our claim line. The AGPL terminates here, and from the international boundary you have this area, which is this is the Karakoram range, and beyond the Karakoram range, this is the Shaksgam river, and from the intersection of AGPL and the our boundary on the Karakoram range, this red line that you see, this is the alignment of the Chinese boundary with Pakistan when it comes to the Karakoram region. And between this uh, red line and the yellow line that you see over here, which is passing along the Aghil range, lies the Sakshgam Valley. So starting from here, this is actually somewhere here is the Sakshgam Pass. Starting from here, the area between the yellow line towards north, the yellow line towards north runs along the Aghil range. The red line runs along the Karakoram ridge, and the area between them is the disputed area, which the Pakistanis had ceded to China, and between them runs the Sakshgam River. Now, I will come to this point again, but first, there is something interesting that you should see. Uh, what was the historical boundaries and maps? We know that both India and China have a dispute when it comes to the northern areas. But what is the source of that dispute? Why is there a dispute in the first place? Now, this is the map. You're familiar with this map. Uh, this is where what the Indian boundary should be, covering uh, the Trans-Karakoram Tract or Sakshgam Valley, and this is how it follows. But what most people do not know, that the Jammu and Kashmir state claimed a much bigger boundary beyond the Sakshgam Valley. which practically ran from this red line that you see. This is the boundary that was claimed by Jammu and Kashmir Raja, and so our actual claim was much beyond this, before 1947. Uh, and here, there's one important thing that you need to understand is that when the Britishers gave Kashmir to Raja Gulab Singh, the treaty had a very specific clause which said that the Raja of Kashmir cannot decide the external boundary of Jammu and of Kashmir towards north. The reason was very simple because if you remember, there is this concept of grid game. There is this concept of grid game. Uh, uh, I'm sorry, were you able to see the screen again? Can somebody please mention? Is this visible? Okay. So, like I was saying, this is the actual, the claim line of the Jammu and Kashmir Raja, which the Indian government after 1947, gave up. They did not recognize it. In the Treaty of Amritsar, when Kashmir was given to to Raja Gulab Singh, there was a very specific, there was a very specific clause which said that the Raja cannot define the outer boundary of Kashmir. Uh, Mainly because if you remember that was a point in time there was great game at play in the region. Uh, Great game was basically the Russians were moving south from the Russian heartland into the Caucasus, and they were also simultaneously moving east towards the Turkestan region, which today we known as Xinjiang, of part of China. So the Britishers were very. There was a scare at one point in time, where they said where they thought that the Russians can come through the passes in the Himalayas and the Karakoram range and attack India, basically. So that is why ultimately the Wakhan corridor was created so that the boundary of the Russian Empire and the British Empire do not meet. But there was a very big fear at that point in time, and that is why the outer boundary of the entire of India, covering Gilgit Baltistan and Kashmir and Ladakh, was tightly controlled by the Britishers, and they kept on moving the boundary forward or backward depending upon their own strategic requirement. At some point in time they thought that we need to be as far ahead as possible to protect the mountain passes. At some point in time they thought, no, we need to come back, be closer to our lines of communication, have minimum troops controlling the mountain passes and the approach roads while we deal with them in the plains the once they come down into the valleys. So there was lot of to and fro that was happening in terms of drawing India's external boundary as per the strategic requirement of the Britishers. So if you see again, this is a historical map. So just for your reference, uh, the the Sakshkam Valley is somewhere here, while this boundary is much more north of the Sakshkam Valley. And this is actually the map of Jammu and Kashmir in 1946, as they claimed. And as you can see, ideally there should be a dip like this and going up like this. As per today's map. However, it runs straight from the Kunjara Pass to the topmost part of the Aksai chain. So there was this large area, so which we basically gave up. So what happened was very simple. In terms of the boundaries, uh, just a second. Sorry, let me just share one more thing. So share. Okay. While our boundary practically ran from this part, let me see. Uh, this one, it practically ran something like this. So, but what we did was, we gave up this alignment, which was, along the Kunlun Mountains, and we settled for this alignment, basically, this which passes across the Agil Range, and that is how, you know, the whole, you know, basically claim on the Shaksgam Valley comes. Ultimately, I mean, before that, the claim was across this line. We gave up this area. I mean, for whatever reasons, we never contested that this is where our boundary should lie, and then we settled on an alignment which passes through the Agil range, and that is how the this part of Saksham Valley came to be. We claim as part of our boundary. So this is the basic history. Just imagine if our claim line had been along this crest, which is the Kunlun Mountains. The Chinese road actually, the Chinese road actually passes through this area, which which connects the whole Aksai chain, which they have occupied, with the northern part. I mean, had our boundary been on this area, had we stuck to our claim, as the Britishers subsequently had at some point in time, the Chinese would have had no connectivity with Tibet in 1950s. They would have not been able to build that road through this entire area. So, giving up the claim on this part itself is one of the strategic blunders which, we don't even talk about. Actually, it is forgotten. It is gone into the dustbins of history, actually. Now, coming to, I'll just stop sharing this for a moment. Now, coming to this part, so the as far as the current geography is concerned, if you want to understand where we are presently, so you need to look at this map. This is the Siachen Glacier. This blue line is running through ridge. This is Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Uh, this is the northernmost part of India, presently under our control. And this here is the Sakshgam River. It originates close to Sakshgam Pass, which is somewhere over here. It flows in this direction. This is the broad alignment of the Sakshgam River. This is the alignment of the Sakshgam River. And here it takes a turn. And over here, I have some markers. Let me just activate them. Yeah, okay. Confluence of Yarkand and Sakshgam River. So here it basically meets the Yarkand River, and henceforth it is known as the uh, Yarkand River itself. Now, one another important point historically, there is a very unique kingdom, actually a small hill kingdom in Baltistan region, Gilgit Baltistan region, which is Hunza. Now, this is the Hunza region in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, or the Gilgit Baltistan region. Now, Hunza, the people of Hunza were also known as Kanjutis. So, what they used to do was they would travel from this area east. There is this Simshal Pass over here. This is Braldu River. Go down this river into the Shaksgam Valley, and from there, these people would travel east along the Saksh or Agil and cross the Agil Pass into the the Yarkand, the upper Yarkand River Valley, or they would come down along this route towards the area north of the Karakoram Pass. And if you recall, we have trade links and trade caravans used to pass through this region from Leh towards uh, uh, Kashmir. And these fellows, they would come from their mountain fortresses and mountain villages, and travel so far east, take Kyrgyz people over there and take them away as bonded labor and slave. And another very interesting bit about Hunza is this area, which is known as Ta Dumbash Pamir, which is actually in Xinjiang or China proper, had grazing rights and area given to them by the Chinese emperor in this part for grazing their cattle during the winter season. So these are the people who would actually, go down this area and attack caravans and capture people. Otherwise, like I said, this was basically a barren land, a wasteland where nobody actually went, and that is why nobody initially had any idea, thought of controlling it, except for the fact that there used to be, these trade caravans which used to pass from Karakoram Pass towards this area. Okay, now. Uh, one more word which you might hear when it comes to the Saksham River is the Raksam Valley, which, let me just clarify, which is nothing but the upper part of the Yarkand River, which actually originates somewhere here close to the Saksham Pass, and it travels in this direction. The upper region of that Yarkand River is known as what you call Raksam uh, by the Kyrgyz people and and the Hunza people, or Kanjutis as they were known as. Also, this is the broad understanding or broad geography and history of the region. Now, in terms of what is happening in this region, is that for a very long time the Chinese were had nothing to do with this area. They were not bothered about it because they were busy somewhere else. And now what they are doing is they are building a lateral connectivity between the road which enters Pakistan through the Kunjara Pass and their existing road G219, which passes through Aksai chain. So basically, if you see again, let me just go back to Google Earth. They already had infrastructure here. It is just that now they are G219 is something which passes through here. This is Suget. From here, it goes up through the mountains, Kyrgyz jungle, and this is the Agil Pass. And they had initially built a road connecting this back with the road which was passing through here. You see, this is their existing road, the G219, which connects Zhejiang with the Aksai Chin or Eastern Ladakh and Tibet. So from here, there was a diversion which they had created to travel along this valley towards the Agil Pass. and here is the Agil Pass. And once they come down the Agil Pass, then what happens is it places it from the Agil Pass. They can come directly down the Sakshgam Valley river alignment and be opposite the uh, top part of the Siachen Glacier. So this is the Siachen Glacier top part. This is the Indira Col, and this is the Indira Ridge, as they call it. So if you are on the Indira Ridge, this in front of you is called the Urdog Glacier, and from here, if you go north, this is the Sashgam River alignment. So technically, the Chinese could come and be here and be staring at uh, the northernmost wall of the Siachen Glacier, which is the Indira Ridge. So this would be the view the Chinese have if they were to sit on the Udo Glacier. On the other side of this ridge is the Siachen Glacier. So now, when somebody says that Siachen Glacier is under threat, technically, I do not need to sit next to Siachen Glacier to put it under threat. Long range artillery can, basically attack it from any direction, and any frontal assault or any attempt to take it physically by going up this glacier and these vertical cliffs is plain suicide. That is not going to happen. The threat is in terms of the long range vectors, artillery and you know other other such equipment which can be brought into the Sakshram Valley to attack this. But that can, for that, they do not need to come close to it. They can be anywhere along the alignment of the Sakshram River. I mean, long range artillery, 35 plus kilometers, can attack it from any direction. I mean, so that is no big deal from that perspective. But what they are trying to do here is that so Agil till Agil range, there was a road. Now, if they what they have done is moving along, or they have moved along the alignment of the this Sakshgam River, basically gone ahead and created a connectivity with the Kunjara Pass. From here, so they have created a connectivity from here. This is the Ofrang Pass, and from here they have created a lateral connectivity. So they can now bring troops directly from this direction into the Sakshgam Valley, and from there they can move it into area opposite north of Karakorum Pass, or opposite the Exaichin or into the Exaichin region basically. So you can bring troops from here through the Sakshgam Valley and bring it towards this. The actual strategic importance of the whole Sakshgam Valley alignment and why the road there is a threat, more rather than framing it in terms of threat to the Siachen Glacier. I mean, any enemy presence of opposite you is a threat, but the real threat is in terms of the ease of movement that it can help the lateral connectivity between these two sectors which were earlier not connected. And while we are at it, let me just explain one more thing. Let me see if I can get that right. Okay. Do I have- Sorry. Okay, this is another map. So when the Chinese, the black line here is the Indian claim line, the international boundary as we claim it in Jammu and Kashmir. The red line is the alignment of the boundary between China and Pakistan as per the 1963 agreement. And of course, the area between that is what we claim, which is the Sakshgam Valley. But let me just explain one thing over here. What the Chinese basically and the Pakistanis basically did was, both of them had no idea where the actual boundary lay in this area, because nobody had bothered to map it, and the Britishers had done it for their own benefit. So basically, what they did was they used Karakoram range as basically the watershed principle basically. So if you see this broad alignment, this is the the boundary between Pakistan and China, what they agreed in Shaksgam area, Transcargo, runs along the ridge of the Karakoram range. So the glaciers towards north of this red line, the water from those glaciers flows into the Tarim basin. It flows north, and the water from glaciers to south of this red line flows into India, into basically the Arabian Sea. So this is the principle that they had used, with one small exception, which is this area. Uh, now, so technically, if we follow the watershed principle, the line from here should have gone like this and converged like this, but instead it deviates, and this area is left to the Pakistanis, because there is this Simshal village, and it's a very remote valley in Gilgit Baltistan area. People from Shimshal village, they go through this very difficult route to cross the Shimshal pass, and then there is this river, small river, which is called the Braldu, and which meets Sakshgam river over here. And this is the grazing ground basically for their basically cattle uh, during the summer season. So had the Chinese insisted on following the Karakoram alignment, this area would have been under the Chinese, but then the people lost this grazing ground. So as a matter of adjustment between the two parties, they agreed to deviate the so that this could be left with the Pakistanis, considering their historic usage. So this is actually more or less about the whole Saksham situation. Let me see. So in case you have any queries, hello, when was this? Hello, can you hear me? Anybody there? Hello. Okay, thank you. So, in case you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, and then we can wrap it up. Any questions, my friends? Oh, how can India take it back? That is actually a good question. See, the problem here is, the geography of this entire area is very, very challenging. So I'm not sure whether taking back Sakshgam Valley is, in any way the top military objective of India, to be honest, because this area is so isolated, and the funny part is that unless and until we take the Baltistan region, we don't even have direct access to this area. I mean, there is one. I think, let me just show that to you. There is one historic pass, but no longer used, mind you. So this is the northernmost part of the Siachen Glacier. Like I said, there is a pass which is called the Turkestan La. Now, there is evidence, this has been written by people who have explored the Siachen Glacier and studied its history. They have mentioned that historically this pass was also used for by people to move between the Baltistan region uh, and the area beyond this one towards the Chinese cities of Kashgar and Khotan, but it was used sporadically and we are at it. Let me just tell you something very interesting in the sense that the actual accessibility towards this region is always along the valleys and passes. So this is the Baltistan region, which is under Pakistan. From here, you have this Bilafond Pass and the Siala Pass. So it is easier for people to move along the Bilafond Pass and then move east from there to Coal Italia and then move further east on this direction, or move north, cross Turkestan La and into the Shaksgam Valley, and then move further. But these were not exactly your large scale use areas, uh, large scale use passes, maybe by villagers on either side. So, the funny part here is that as we speak, we don't even have direct access to the Sakshgam Valley. So, even if we want to mount any sort of military, uh, you know, campaign to take Sakshgam Valley, we won't even know where to start. To be honest, to take Sakshgam Valley, we will first need to take Baltistan, especially the Skardu area, which is the actual center of gravity in that area. And from there, you take the side valleys, move up, take Shimshal, and from Shimshal, maybe you can enter the Shashram Valley proper. Oh, if we have to take over Skardu, I mean, this is a very nice question. This is, uh, the armchair field marshal in me has, you know, game this thing a lot of times, but I mean, I think what we will need is we will need considerable amount of helicopter lift, along with the put pressure on Pakistan in the plains so that they cannot reinforce this sector beyond a certain strength. Have a very strong helicopter fleet for vertical movement to go basically overcome the challenges of mountains and the penalty that they impose in terms of mobility. But I think it can be done. It is a matter of investment and political will. uh, this area, see, the Chinese today are claiming Aksai Chin. Anand, was it at any point in time under their control? No. I mean, they were not even bothered about the area between Kunlun Mountains and the Karakoram range, the Karakoram Pass. They were not bothered about it. You know, this fellow, Captain Young Husband, the famous British explorer, he traveled in this entire area, and at no point in time he explored Sashram Valley for the first time. I think in 1889 he was the first European to do so, and there was no presence of any Chinese authority in that area. Uh, all that has happened later. Once for example, we went the Britishers wanted the Chinese to control this area at one point in time so that the Russians don't fill the vacuum. They were happy to, base the boundary on Karakoram Pass, exceed Exach into them, so that they can control this area and so that the Russians don't come into it. Till a very long stretch of time, the Chinese did not want to have anything to do with it. So, this question, who controlled it? I mean, did the Chinese control it? No, they did not control it, right? But what happens is, Land gives you depth. Today, imagine if we had, if our boundary was sitting on the Kunlun mountain, there would have been no Chinese connectivity to uh, to the entire eastern Ladakh region or area north of Karakoram. The history of Exechin, yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure. Yeah, it's a very detailed thing. There are a lot of there is a lot of. Uh, it's actually a very good topic. There is a lot of. So this Shaksgam Valley, this Aksai chain, they're all interrelated basically, and all because of the great game and what the Britishers basically wanted to achieve for themselves in terms of geopolitics uh, and geostrategy. No, you are right actually. See, mountains. There is, ultimately, if you look at the Ladakh sector and the Baltistan sector, what is the connectivity? The only connectivity is through the river valleys which are going from east to west. They also know we will come through that valley. We also know we will go through that valley. So they will try to stop us, right? So how do I do that? I need some mechanism to jump over them. Can I establish a base, some sort of an base in Deosai Plains? Can I attack Skardu or Dansam directly through an air assault? I don't know whether today long range artillery can support you from quite far off. And the geography of this Baltistan is such that Skardu, the bowl of Skardu, is actually isolated from the larger region. There is just that one road which comes along the Indus, and which is a very precarious road. The other which comes from the Dosai plain side. I mean, both of them can be interdicted, and that area can be isolated. But for that, we need political will and lot of investment actually. No, you are right. See, what was not accessible earlier is always accessible. For example, when people were talking about this thing, giving up Aksai Chin, how many people know that there is this pass called Coal Italia, which connects the eastern part of eastern part of giving up Siachen Glacier, which connects Siachen Glacier to the upper regions of the Shyok River. The area towards rear of DBO. So at one point in time, you had some foreign explorers doing kayaking in the glacier lakes uh, that were made along the Saksham river alignment by the glaciers which feed that river. You had people doing kayaking over there. So what is not accessible today will become accessible tomorrow. So you cannot let go of the land. When it comes to land, you have to have a long term vision to it, because like I said, ultimately it gives you depth. Himachal to Tibet before 1947. Yeah, yeah, Shipkila was a very famous pass which people used to take from Himachal to Tibet. There was the Britishers even made that what do you call the Hindustan Tibet road, and in fact there is a lot of geopolitics. I'm sorry, related to this aspect as well, because Lahore Spiti was actually part of the Ladakh kingdom. They took it away from Ladakh because they wanted the Pash wool to come from Tibet via Shipkila to Rampur Bushehr, which is in Himachal, which also hosts a very big fair, so that they could control the Pashm trade and profit from taxing that trade. Though it did not succeed beyond a certain uh, point, actually. All right, guys. Anything else? Oh, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering, that is my daughter's dollhouse in the background and my wife's work desk. Yeah, exciting video. Okay, let me see. I'm planning to do one nice video for the Republic Day weekend. Uh, I was thinking of doing one on the integrated rocket force. See, exciting will be a lot about basically the history. Which line appeared when, who claimed what, why did they claim it, and ultimately what happened. I mean, but the funny thing about the whole excitation is that we lost about 95 or 97, 96% of it, even without the Chinese having fired a single shot. So the 1962 war was only about balance 2-3%, which they gained by coming forward and adjusting their claim line along suitable ridge lines and passes so that they could prevent India from going from west to east. Otherwise, they had taken away most of the exercise chain that you see today under their control, even without us knowing about it. Which is more strategic, important, Haji Pir Pass or Skardu? Oh, Skardu has, of course, and at any given point in time, if you take Skardu, you suddenly take away a very large chunk of territory under Pakistan's control. It has humongous, repercussions. If you take Skardu, so basically, then there is no need to sit on Siachen Glacier on Saltoro Ridge. Yes, they had taken most of it yeah, much before that. So the road became operational, I think, somewhere in 1956 or 57 through Aksai chain, and then they started pushing forward. And so, if you see the map, if you see where we had established our pickets in 1962 before the war began, we were already the Chinese had already taken away more than 95% of the area. That is why our pickets were not at the edge. Our pickets were deep inside, our own territory, our own claimed territory. Oh, given an option, I would take Skardu any day over Exaichin also. Yeah, I don't know about Exaichin per se, but yes, I have seen some papers where they were exploring the geology of the areas, but I have not done any research on this, to be honest, so I can't answer it. Yeah, our military's plan would be known to our military. They will not tell internet warriors like us. See, China will always try to be. It's a big power. It is economically bigger than us. It has more money to spend, so of course it will have more gadgets. But they have their own challenges in the excitation area. Maybe some with time I will talk about that. And basically, that is why they are spending so much money in developing infrastructure in that area, because otherwise they were at a disadvantage in that area. Brass tacks. Yeah, actually, brass tacks. Okay, I don't know whether you know this or not, but brass tacks was actually a feint, basically. Sundari's actual plan was to take Gilgit-Baltistan. It was called Operation Trident. I have written briefly about it, I think, somewhere on my timeline. He wanted to attack along the Shayok River towards Skardu from Turtuk, and uh, other was along the what you call Gurez, Minimarg, Estor axis, and another was from Kargil towards Skardu. Yeah, see, cold start. See, there's a specific reason why cold start came into being in the first place. So we don't have that concern with respect to China. Cold start happened was because our formations are the strike formations, especially, are away from the forward areas or the border. It takes some time for them to reach, the border areas post mobilization, and we lose precious time, which allows Pakistan needs to mobilize and uh, reach their forward areas before us. So we created a series of measures so that we can mobilize fast and attack as fast as possible once the word is given. So we don't have those challenges with respect to China where we need to mobilize fast and be fast. Most of our formations are pretty much sitting bang next to the LOC, LAC or the border or very close to it. Plus, you also have the issue of acclimatization. So that will always be there. But we do maintain a lot of troops up front, actually. See, Zorawar is a good tank. It is a good asset to have. But, let us understand very clearly that uh, the requirement for light tank has always existed. But a proper tank, even for Ladakh, is not Zorawar. I mean, your proper tank is going to be T90. When the India-China standoff started in 2020, what did we do? We pushed in T-72s and T-90s. How many people here would know that the first time India put tanks in eastern Ladakh was in 1987? Lieutenant General Panag had led a battle group of BMP-2s and one squadron of T-72s was airlifted to Ladakh to study the use of mechanized elements in eastern Ladakh against the Chinese. So we have done that all that in the past. Zorabar is a light tank which will be used to complement the infantry. It is not for tank on tank fighting. The whole discussion gets uh, basically moves away into completely different tangent. Just because there's a tank written next to it, people assume that it will now start blasting away the Chinese main battle tanks. Chinese made the mistake of bringing light tanks and their older tanks, and they saw T-90s on our side, and then they had to rush and bring in their latest tanks from their group army sitting 2,000 kilometers away outside of Tibet. I'm sorry, I couldn't. What is cold start in this context? Which context? I'm sorry, I couldn't get it. Yeah, this is a very long answer, my friend. Sorry. So Chinese thought that India will not react. Basically, they were they thought that we will not counter mobilize. They were surprised by our counter mobilization, and then they suddenly found that they have not prepared adequately for this, and that is why the whole thing spiraled from where it started to finally where it has ended. And then they realize they don't have infrastructure to sustain there. That is why they are spending so much to build whatever they are building is from the scratch. Yeah, yeah. So cold start was basically for quick mobilization, so that We can act as soon as we there is a political clearance, before the Pakistanis have time to react, basically. But that does not apply in the case of China here. All right, guys, 5 more minutes. I guess we'll be completing 1 hour. Near future in what terms? Oh, you get the yeah. To be honest, I have lot of stuff which was WIP. I wanted to do a lot of videos. I tried something new to explain the attack on Hajipir Pass in 1965, but then roti, kapda, and makan requirement is more important than YouTube and Twitter. So I hopefully this is a start. I will have more regular videos analysis, and I hope to start a podcast also. Let's see how it goes. Yes, 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 yes. So every piece of every logistic node will come under attack. Every bit of your infra will come under attack. So rest assured, all that will happen, and you can please rest easy that in the sense that your armed forces will cater for all that, right? All right. Yeah, yeah, sure. No, I plan to do a series on the Chinese army because I think what happens is a lot of discussion and debate is happening without understanding the basics. I will do a series on the uh, PLA, at least the ground forces, whereby I will explain their organization, their structure, what is a combined arms brigade, what is a group army, how are they structured, how do they fight, what kind of equipment that they have. That is something which I have planned. I will do a similar exercise for the Pakistan Army, Air Force on both the sides. Navy, I'm not exactly the brightest crayon in the pack when it comes to the Navy. Okay. So I guess this is it, guys. Thank you for participating and bearing with me. I know there were a lot of screw ups. I should have been better prepared. And now, hopefully, next time I will do a better job than this one. Oh, Arunachal, not the whole of Arunachal. The Tawang is very important because of its historic linkage with the Tibetans. Tawang area, they are worried that the next Dalai Lama can come from Tawang region. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating and being there. In spite of last minute change in the timing. And if you have any questions, you please post it over there. I will reply to them in some spare time. Chalo, good night, everyone. Wish you all a wonderful week ahead. Jai Hind.